Hello.
Greetings.
Greetings, everyone. It is the last day of the year.
I'm like, OMG. I'm so excited. What a year.
Right. 2025 is definitely one for the history books.
Yes. Yes. And we're going to be talking about that today. This is essentially, our 6 month anniversary actually being live with our podcast. If you don't know, we are Earth School Journey. I am your peer guide, Uni, and this is my lovely co-host and peer guide, Umi Steph. How you doing today,
Hello.
Umi?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. I can't believe we've made it this far.
Me either. I'm telling you, if you would have told me a year ago that we'd be, 6 months in, we were really just taking it day by day, week by week, month by month,
I know.
walking this out. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that the Most High put us in each other's lives so that we can combine forces and share good works here on the internet. I
Mhm.
remember thinking to myself, like, I need to stop being afraid. I need to start having more audacity. I see so many people getting out here spewing hatred and disconnection and men versus women and women versus men and black versus white and orange versus yellow. And it's just like, what? Like, what are we doing here? This is not what we're here for. And so I'm so grateful that the Most High put it on your heart to ask, our beautiful accountability circle, who would want to join you. And while so many of our sisters are out here doing great things, and we've already had one on our show, Sister Finesse, and we'll be
Yes.
bringing more of our community online to share with you all what we're doing, how we are building community slowly but surely, and it has just been so beautiful. I'm so grateful for it all. And again, I'm just so grateful that the Most High put it on your heart. How are you
Yeah.
feeling? Oh my God, it's New Year's Eve.
I know. It's funny because I don't feel like I feel the New Year's. You know what I mean? Like I am excited that, we've made it this far, that we've
Yeah.
been able to be consistent for this is our 27th episode. I know, right? 27 episodes. And we've been consistent and we do it every week. And we've even been doing it, Christmas Eve and now it's New Year's Eve. And we're being consistent with this, really wanting to stay in the flow of things. It's it feels good to have made a commitment, particularly when both of us were, we didn't really embrace this idea at first. Like, I've been talking about doing a podcast for years, but I was resistant for so many reasons. One, just not wanting to be public, like I like my private life. I like my life being quiet. I like, not being recognized. Not that anybody is by any means recognizing me at this point, but it was just that fear of knowing that that's going to come at some point, and we've talked about being reborn in this spiritual lifestyle and how we both kind of left an old life behind, a life of I don't want to I won't say godless because it wasn't godless, but it wasn't rooted. You know what I mean? Like we
Right.
weren't rooted in spirit. I wasn't, I'll speak for myself. I wasn't rooted in spirit. I wasn't rooted in that, you know, that love, that light, that any of that. I didn't necessarily believe in any of that. And so I was just floating through life, making horrible mistakes, doing things that I'm not proud of, putting myself in situations that were not good for me and all of that. And so to be reborn in this way and then to be public about it so that those you were associated with before see it is it's a daunting idea. So I'm really proud of us for pushing past, that desire to not be seen, you know, and sticking with this and continuing to do it. And I'm looking forward to the future.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Listen, you hit it right on the nail. Like both of us had that same trepidation, that same hesitation, that same fear. Like, I don't even know, you know what I mean? And I remember on one of our first episodes, we were just like, the Most High dispatched us somehow to each other. Like, we got to get those two together because they have to share, you know. We need more people who believe in the goodness of oneness and wholeness and want to live in right relationship and want to be held accountable and want to see beauty and be beauty
Hmm.
in our words, actions, and in all of that. And so, yeah, I'm just really grateful because I mean, if
Yeah.
I feel like if you had been like maybe if we didn't have a similar, you know what I mean, kind of like sometimes it's hard to understand people, you know, when they have a different perspective from you. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
you've been more than gracious with me. I've been more than gracious with you, hopefully, to understand like how you feel. And it's like, okay, we know that we have, you know, we've been working through this. But we're gonna work through it together. So it's
Yeah.
been amazing, and I'm so excited and happy and grateful and all that.
Yes. Yes. Me too. Me too. So we have a few things. Today's program is going to be mostly us kind of talking about where we've been and where we want to go. Um, just kind of reviewing what these, not just these past 6 months that you all have seen us, but just the whole year, including, kind of our little, we don't like to call it a false start, but it kind of was, but it kind of wasn't, which we'll talk about in a minute. But before that, do you want to talk about the Gregorian New Year versus Nature's New Year and how we're approaching that?
Yes, absolutely. You know, we respect that, you know, the so-called powers that be have, you know, created their own fiscal year, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, within, you know, nature's actual yearly cycle. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Hmm.
That's how I look at it. I look at the Gregorian New Year as like a fiscal year. You know, we know that the real new year in alignment with nature is on or about March 20th, 21st, the spring
Right.
equinox.
Right.
That's the real new year. That's when nature starts to come alive again. That's when the sun, you know, starts to come out again. That's really the new year. But for whatever reason that I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff out there about why the Gregorian New Year came to be, and I've read some of it, I've heard some of it. I'm not going to go down that road now with the Romans and all that stuff and
Right.
whoever. But what I will say is that I do understand the need to put some sort of beginning and end on things. And I feel like for whatever reason, you know, the Gregorian New Year was set into place to kind of give us preparation for the real New Year. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Maybe the powers that be thought to themselves, hey, like maybe they're looking at it kind of like tax time. You know, a lot of companies start their new year on, you know, April 1st or June 1st or whatever to
Yep.
kind of give them some leeway within the tax year to like get their affairs in order. And so I feel like the Gregorian New Year gives us some time to get our affairs in order before the real New Year. And so that's what we're going to be using this time for. You know, we're doing a review of the last year, how we started, how we've, you know, really grown over the year. But we have time to look ahead as well and really plan for the real new year. And so
Hmm.
that's my take on it. And I'm really excited, to be honest with you, because I think that, especially with Earth School Journey, we have a lot of things to look forward to in the real new year. How do you think of the new year, Omi?
Oh, yeah. So I appreciate that take on it. First of all, I want to say before I get into my comments, but I do like the idea of it being prep, kind of preparing for the new year. And the way I see um the two different, you know, ideas of how the year runs is nature's new year. We're calling it nature's new year. It's the like astrological new year or astronomical new year, depending on what words you want to use. But it's the rhythm of nature. It's the rhythm of life, and I, the year that the powers that be, as you said, set, okay, fine, it is what it is. It's there. We have to use it because it's what the majority uses, and we have to, be able to communicate and stay on point. But I really think that like this new year that comes with the seasons is what we should be more focused on, because it's how the rhythm of our bodies work. It's how the rhythm of nature works. And so having a new year start in the middle of, winter, to me is it's counterproductive. Here we are setting um not intentions, cuz resolutions are not intentions. It's not the same thing. And so setting resolutions and trying to on January 1st go on this diet or do this thing, or it's not a time of doing. It's a time of rest, a time of reflection. It's a time to rejuvenate oneself. And if you're not, if you're so focused on these resolutions and, oh, now I have to go to the gym and lose the weight and do the thing and blah, 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 what are, your body, you're basically going against nature, right? By not taking into account what season we're in, you know? And so I really feel like it's good that we're taking this time to recognize and acknowledge that. And I just want to put it out there that we are celebrating New Year's, right? 2026. We're doing that, but also come March, we're really going to start a new cycle, a new annual cycle. Right? We're starting a new seasonal cycle. We just started a new seasonal cycle right before Christmas. And then when that season comes to the end, not only will it be the end of that season, but it'll be the start of a new year, a new seasonal new year, with spring and all of that. So, yeah, I'm glad we are talking about this. And I don't, especially because everybody wonders why, oh, a month into or a month and a half into these resolutions, they fall off. Well, yeah, you weren't doing it in the right season. You know, there you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to say you touched on something like just there real quick. We are not going beyond that month and a half because we haven't really done the inner work. Like you've got to do the inner work before you see it external in your life. And there's no way. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, there are some people who can, dive right in and swim from here to China. That's their business. But most of us can't do that. Most of us are not built to do that. We're not built to dive right in. We are supposed to plan, prepare, strategize, get our frequency in alignment with our intentions and with that with which we're trying to manifest. I've been thinking about that so much about, just looking at my life and the things that I've manifested and how I've manifested them for good, bad, or indifferent. You know what I mean? Just thinking like it's amazing. And I feel like I'm on this kind of like energetic precipice of really making some real big shifts. And so I'm doing my work to hold that frequency and really be in alignment with the solar new year or nature's new year, so that I can see real or continue to see real growth. So yeah. So we were talking about how, we had like kind of not really a false start, but we did, jump on and do a recording in January. And we didn't finish, or rather, we didn't post it for a few reasons. A few reasons. Um, do you want to share a couple of those reasons, Umi?
Um, a couple of those reasons. One, we were trying before we decided to go live, and we are pre-recording now and then and going, but we're still treating it like we're live. Um,
Right.
and we only started pre-recording, one, because it was cold and it was really hard for me to record out here, but also because we wanted to be able to engage in the comments, and we were finding it really difficult to engage with you guys in the comments while we were live. We don't have a team. It is literally just us and Owen, because he's right here.
Can't forget about Owen.
Occasionally River barking in the background. But so we were pre-recording, and we did like, I want to say 20 takes of the first 5 minutes. Like, it took us 2 hours to just get started. Okay. That was the first thing. And that wasn't sustainable. And we were so concerned about how it looked that we weren't able to really have a conversation. And we were finding that it felt really unnatural. It wasn't us. It didn't flow. There was no spontaneity of it. There was no, you know what I mean? And then there came the editing of it. And in January, when we first did this, I do have editing experience, but minor things. I'd never edited an entire podcast before, and trying to put it together, and then you get nitpicky because you're like, every and every and every like pause, you're trying to pull it out, and it was taking me hours and hours and hours to edit it. And then we wanted shorts, so then we really had to pick, okay, what clips do we want. And just the whole process was so daunting and so overwhelming that we just scrapped the whole thing. And I think we recorded twice. Didn't we record twice?
Yeah, yeah, we did two recordings. Yeah.
And it wasn't right. It didn't feel right. And so
No.
we decided not to. And for what, like another 5 months, we talked about how we were going to proceed and things we were going to do. And we talked about other things business wise, like LLCs and, the algorithm. And we talked about all these things. And then, like, I think it was around my birthday in June that we were just like, let's just go live. Let's just go live and see what happens. And we did. And we loved it. It was perfect. It was well received. I feel like we did really good. That first video really got a lot of views, a lot of play. Um and the dog. And so we're like, okay, we're just going to keep with this momentum, right? Because it forces you when you're live to not care about all of those little details, and you just kind of go with it. And we learned some new tools behind the scenes too, different, things we're using to edit and stuff like that. But yeah, that was really it. It was just like this perfectionism that was holding us back, that going live doesn't allow you to have.
Yeah, so true. So true. And I remember we'd be like, okay, we're gonna stop. You know what I mean? Like, like we're gonna stop here. We're gonna start all over again. You know what I mean? Because we said, or something, or maybe it didn't go as planned. Like even now, still, like earlier, I was like, oh. I'm talking about, the, Gregorian calendar kind of being like a fiscal calendar in relation to tax year. And I'm like, oh, some companies start on April 1st, others start on June 1st, others start on, October, whatever. And I could have, when I'm sitting here thinking and I'm like, did I say that how I wanted? Like, did it come out how I wanted it to come out? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. I know what I meant. I hope that it gets across correctly. You know what I mean? But instead of all the stopping and the starting and the what ifs, and because everything is not going to always come out perfect. And I think that there is something to be had for, authenticity and understanding that, sometimes we do make little mistakes. Sometimes, something will come out how maybe we didn't plan it to, or whatever the case may be, but we know our intentions behind it, and we're continuing to push through it. We're continuing to go with the flow. You know what I mean? There's value in it regardless. And so, yeah, it was just so funny because, like, if we were recording earlier, I probably would have been like, can we stop and start again? That would have been a whole, 10 minutes gone. We got to start all over. So, yeah, leaving that format was really, really helpful. And I think it was, like you said, it was around your birthday, and I think we have been talking about, learning things the hard way, and, going through things. And you were just like, we should just go live. And I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, no, we shouldn't. No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't go live. Like, we need to figure out how to record and blah, blah, blah. But, I put on my brave face, and even though there were still tons of ums and ahs, and just trying to get my thoughts
You know
together.
what I mean?
You know, no, for real, no,
You
for
know what I
real.
we're both Jersey girls at heart, so you know what I mean is like
Yes, yes. And I'm surprised I haven't said nah mean, because that's something I'll say. You know what I mean? That's a Jersey thing. At least
yep,
we've been
yep.
keeping it pretty grammatically, correct or whatever. So, yeah, just a lot of that. And understanding that, it's okay. Like, we are, just getting started. This is a part of our healing process too. You know what I mean? I think we have mentioned that, even, I think you had mentioned that in one of our lives, that, we're like healing out loud right now. Like, we've done a lot of inner work. We've taken classes. We've done certifications. We've learned about so many things metaphysically, esoterically, as far as the herbs, and you know what I mean? Everything you could think of. We've meditated. And, similar to the monks being out, taking their walk for peace, and, you know what I mean, sharing their energy in the name of peace, we're doing the same thing, but in our own way. This is our walk for peace. And so, I'm just, again, just really grateful to have, made it to this milestone. And it's really a celebration, because it hasn't been a perfect year. We've gone through so many things, ups and downs in our personal lives, and in all areas. You know what I mean? But doing this work out loud it's just been such a healing um uh thing. And I just can't express my gratitude enough. Like, I don't usually celebrate myself, but I've been like really leaning into that, you know what I mean? Because I feel like I deserve it, number one, you know what I mean? And if I don't see me, if I don't celebrate me, then, really, who will at the end of the day? Like,
Right. Yeah.
it's okay to toot your own horn. You don't necessarily get any points for, dimming your light in your work, or in acknowledging the work that you've done. So
Mhm.
kudos to us again. And may we continue along doing this work and sharing in love and peace and unity, and
Yeah.
hopefully raising the vibration,
Yeah.
of the planet. We want to see more love. We want to see more peace.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And you know, I pray that it's useful to others, because really what made me want to do this, what really made me want to go and be public, was that one, I kind of felt like all the gurus were past the stage of having to struggle. They're past, I mean, not saying that they don't never struggle, but like they've had the time to work with all of these principles, and they're so rooted in it and all of that. And I'm like, where are the people who are going through it now? I was looking for, that community, that those who are still trying to, and those, there are communities, right? But I wanted someone to look up to, not to look up to, but to look at, on equal ground of like, oh, I'm trying to figure this out too. And yes, I believe it. I haven't integrated it yet. Like, how do we integrate it? Let's go on this integration journey together. And that's what I really see us doing here is, yes, you and I are healing out loud, and yes, this is very beneficial to you and I, but I pray and I pray and I pray that it's beneficial to other people to watch us go through this.
For sure.
Because, it's not as easy and straightforward as a lot of people make it seem. Oh, you're just going to pray and meditate and everything in your life is going to get better. No, it doesn't actually happen that way. Maybe for some people it does. I will not rule out anything, but I want to say the overwhelming majority of us, you talk about this all the time. I spent 40 years in a way of life, 30 years, maybe 35 years in a way of life. In the last 5 years, yes, I've come more into my spiritual self, but shedding that old self doesn't happen automatically. And I think it's important for people to see that. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, we talked a little bit about the topic that we had in June, which was like, I think we just did like a one-off live, which was pain as pleasure, or excuse me, pain versus pleasure as the spiritual teacher.
Hmm.
And I just felt like that was like so powerful. You know what I mean? It was a really powerful live, and I think that's why, like you said, we got some good traction on it because we were really talking about how, we can lean into ease. Like we've kind of been conditioned to, take the harder road,
Right.
or it seems that way, if
Right.
nothing else, and going through this deconditioning process and knowing that it doesn't have to be hard. Yes, there's going to be challenges, but how can we work smarter and not harder? You know what I
Right.
mean? And that was kind of like just a synopsis of it, but it was such a good topic. We didn't put it on the 2026 curriculum, but I'd really love to do a deep dive in this. Maybe 2027, we'll do
Right.
a deep dive into this.
Yes. Yes. It is a great topic. And I feel like at the moment when we were making the decision to just go live, it really was a pain versus pleasure kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, we were making it so painful. And we had no idea how much fun it would be to just go live and let it happen.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, it was really the culmination of us going, okay, it doesn't have to be this hard. We can just hit play and
yeah,
just go. That's it.
exactly. And it's been beautiful trusting that process.
Yes.
And after that, we were really like gung ho about really getting started. Like we're like, okay, we already knew that Earth School Journey was our the name, our brand. We knew, our like we went through some topics and things we wanted to talk about. We really laid a good foundation, and we were like, how are we going to introduce, how are we going to introduce ourselves, and we thought of like, we're kind of having this like we have this metaphor with, life being a classroom, being a school overall.
Mhm.
And we thought of, having an orientation. And so in July, which is it's just so amazing, it was, cancer season, you know what I mean? We were like on the flip side. We were 180 to that, where we were. And I love that because, cancer is all about, the home. It's about, your intuition. It's about, motherhood, womanhood. It's about really stepping into that role of leadership, you know what I mean? And even though we said like we didn't want to be like these gurus, spiritual teachers, we're your peer guides. We're on this journey. But we went into orientation and it was amazing. Like I was surprised at how, well we had organized and, really put it together. And do you have any thoughts on orientation before we go into like how did it feel for you at that time? Or I don't know.
Um, yeah, so at the time it was a little daunting, I want to say, like to kind of present ourselves in this way, and like who are we? You know? I feel like I did have that kind of thought in my head of like who are we? And it really taught me to like move forward in spiritual authority. Like we felt called to this. We may not feel ready for it. We may not feel worthy of it. We may not feel, you know what I mean, whatever. So and literally everything that we have chosen as topics have been literally lived experiences that we are going through in the moment. And so the orientation of like it was an orientation for everyone to understand who we were and why we were presenting this and how we were going to run things, but it was also an orientation for us to get used to the process of recording, to get used to being consistent, to, get used to what are we providing, to really get clear for ourselves. What is it we're doing for the community? You know? So that's yeah. That's what I have to say
Yeah.
about our school the our school orientation.
Yeah, I love that you bought that because then the next month in August we talked about conscious community.
Mhm.
And that was I'm looking at the list of months, and I'm not gonna lie, conscious community was probably one of my favorite months because
Yeah.
I feel like it really, on top of, Earth School orientation, it really laid the groundwork for our intention and how we want to show up and how we want to build community with accountability and, everyone doing the work and working together,
Right.
and understanding that there is spiritual etiquette and we all
Mhm.
have a responsibility for the energy that we're sharing. And, just understanding that, yes, there are like my thought is like I feel like there are people who revel in being, leaders in, maybe one or two areas, but just being an overall good, responsible person for the energy that you put out and knowing that, hey, listen, when you're out of balance, when you're not able to show up in wholeness, you need to be not necessarily in isolation, but you need to be pouring into yourself and taking care of yourself so that you can show up in wholeness and really taking a leadership role in how we show up for each other,
Right.
And so, that was one of my favorite months. And it's so funny because it's my birthday month, but I just put that together that it's like, oh, that was one of my favorite months, conscious
Yeah.
community. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was a great month. And it was really the culmination of all the conversations that we had because we talked a lot and we started talking about Earth School Journey. Well, we didn't call it Earth School Journey, but we started talking about the podcast in like August, your birthday month of last year. Was it last year? I want to say last year.
Mhm.
Feels like it's been longer than that at this point. But
Right.
we started talking about it, and what kept coming up for us was this idea of conscious community and wanting to not build it necessarily but be a part of one, right? And we came to the conclusion that like we had to build it to be a part of it. That was what we were being called to. And both of us have been in other communities, and those communities are great, don't get me wrong. I have, I'm a part of the agape community. I love agape, but I do feel called to do something in my own right, and that is, thanks, Owen. He just knocked my mouse down on the floor.
Oh no.
But we just felt called to build this community, you know to not just nourish others but to nourish ourselves, but to and for it to be symbiotic and not just a one-way kind of thing. And so, yeah, that was a great month. I also loved getting clear on what our values were because we did talk about that a lot. We talked about what our values were. And you know, we already knew at that point that we kind of had the same values as far as conscious community were concerned. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have been able to do this. But having similar ideas of what we considered to be conscious community and what we wanted to see in our community and what we wanted to be in our community, it really helped to kind of solidify this whole thing, this whole Earth School journey, being. It is its own being. It is its own thing.
For sure. For sure. And so in September, we went into spiritual hygiene. That was a really great month too. It was like, I know we said we weren't going to go through the list. At some point we'll go, but
We are.
yeah, no, because it's so funny because Miss Ayanla's book on spiritual hygiene just was made available yesterday. And during that month, we have been talking about spiritual hygiene in July. We didn't even know that Miss Ayanla was going to put out a
No
book
idea.
on spiritual hygiene, but we came to the knowledge that she would after we had set up our whole month. I mean, you could go back. We had our live scheduled already. Like
Right.
we were doing spiritual hygiene. We were like, I think 2 weeks in, and I was like, Umi, did you get this email from
Right.
Miss
From Ayala.
Ayala on spiritual? Like, did you see this? And we were like, wait a minute.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that was like such a key moment for us because we felt like, or at least I could speak for myself, and I know you agreed with me, like that alignment was
Yes.
powerful. That was
Very.
some powerful alignment. Like we had no idea
No.
that this book was, going to be previewed or it's going to be available for pre-purchase at that time.
Right.
And just yesterday, I got the notification that it is available to, in the audio as an audio book now. It's available to listen.
Hmm.
And so I had to bring that up because I'm like, our minds were blown. We were like, wait a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah. It was so funny because I remember we had already talked about it because we do our planning on Mondays and then we
Hmm.
record on Wednesdays. And Monday we had already, come up with our plan. We went through like everything that we wanted to talk about and pretty much we planned the month loosely at the beginning of the month and then we kind of find details, each week. And we had gone through everything we were going to talk about that Wednesday. And then that morning, as I was just going through my normal routine, I was listening to Reverend Michael's podcast, Take Back Your Mind. And she was on there talking about the spiritual hygiene book. And then you messaged me like, did you see that email? I'm like, no, I didn't see the email, but I saw the podcast.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that like she's talking about this. And to be, like talking to Reverend Michael, who I was studying under, last year. I took a pause this year. But last year that's who I was studying under. And so to have him talking to her was just like, wow, what alignment we have. And while that is all beautiful, that then the issue, that came forward was for me that my spiritual hygiene needed some work.
Mm.
I like and that was exactly what inspired me to take the pause on my practitioner training because I really needed to clean up my spiritual hygiene. I still do. I'm still working to get it, back to where I want it to be. Or not back to, but to where I want it to be. It's not a back to thing. It's I ain't got there yet. But it's just it's so beautiful the alignment, the way that it made me realize in that moment that we were doing the work that we were called to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that alignment, I'm telling you. And, not for nothing, September is ruled by Virgo. Virgo is, the ruler of, just all of that cleanliness. It rules the sixth house and all of that stuff. But still, we spent time. We
Yep.
spent time really coming up with a theme. We were thinking it through, and for that to come to us, and then for us to see that alignment, like I'm still floored. You see, I can't stop talking
No,
about it.
I
I'm
know
still.
it, and it's so funny because how many searches did we put into Google and Chat GPT and all of that spiritual hygiene, and Ayanla's name never came up.
Her name never came up, and
Never.
barely anything came up at all. And that's why
Right.
we went for it, because we said it's not really out there. We
It
could
needs to be
be,
talked about. Yep.
bringing something new to the forefront.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
know. It was just so mind blowing. It was so
It
mind
was.
blowing
It
to just,
was. I
and
don't think I'll ever.
we both love Ayanla. Like we both
Of
love
course.
her. We both have her books. We both, we love her and respect her and look up to her. She is mother. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
So to
Yes.
have her drop a book the same day that we posted our first spiritual hygiene podcast was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I'm still
Yeah,
mind blown. I'm sorry. I can't.
I know. I know. I know what you mean.
Um, so in October, we talked about, spiritual hygiene, I'm sorry, spiritual harvest rather, because
Harvest.
we wanted to, go into considering like what is the result of your spiritual hygiene. And we
Right.
talked about the harvest, and that was a beautiful month. We had our sister Finesse on. She dropped so many jewels on us.
Yes.
I mean, reminding us to, commune with our herbs,
Yep.
you know, some of her sayings and, the things that have gotten her through and how she's gotten there. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful talk. What did you think about the harvest month?
Yeah, that was a good one. I really think it's something that people don't talk about a whole lot. And we tried to take a different perspective from, oh, you're doing all this work so that you can manifest blah blah, you can manifest this physical thing, this material thing or financial thing or whatever. We were trying to take a broader perspective, and I think it went really well. I loved having Finesse on. I love that she is doing more on YouTube now, so y'all check her out too. Touched by
Yes.
Finesse, check her out. um yeah, no, that was great. It felt really good to um it felt like a harvest to have her on the show,
Yes. For
so it was
sure.
really, really good. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I love that. That's such a great point.
Hmm.
After going through so many months and, feeling comfortable enough not only to show up, ourselves together and have our wonderful sister on who's also on the journey with us.
Yes.
Absolutely. I
Yes.
agree with you. And then November, we went into the darkness.
Yes.
Whew, that was a month. I'm telling you, the
Yeah.
darkness was very interesting. How'd you feel about going into the darkness?
It was heavy. It was a little daunting. It was a heavy month. It felt like it needed to be, like we did a lot of uncovering, a lot of looking deep, a lot of, digging into things that we didn't really like to look at, you know what I mean? And uncovering things that we really do enjoy and love and are really our gifts that we've hidden because of the way the world had conditioned us. And so, it was a month that, while it was about the darkness, revealed a lot of light, and I think that was, we took on a hard topic, a hard, not just a hard topic, but a hard journey. This was like we're going hardcore on. We use Minecraft as a metaphor around here a lot, but it's like there's the hardcore version of Minecraft where like you get one shot, that's it. But that's what it kind of felt like. It was like, okay, we're gonna talk about the darkness and we're gonna go deep and we're gonna go hard and we're gonna see what comes out of it. And it was really a great month of self-discovery for me personally, you know.
Yeah, same for me. I loved how we both, like, we've been talking for a few years now, you know what I mean? But we've never talked about our um, shared views on shadow work. it was during that month that we realized that we both kind of were a little not against, but we couldn't really get behind the actual term shadow work. And we really felt like there was kind of like a better way to go about it. And, I think we came up with uh, an adventure or journey of sort, you know what I mean? Like really going into an adventure of uncovering the light, or a consciousness adventure or a consciousness journey that you can't, yeah, you coined that phrase. And when you first said it, I was like, yeah, I love that, um, just because of the exploration part of it, whether you look at it as an adventure or a journey. I think after sitting with it for a little bit, I was like, maybe the journey kind of like I feel more aligned with that than the adventure, but still the same. Some parts of a journey are an adventure and so on, and vice versa. You know what I mean? Um, but I really love how we both had that mind frame.
Mhm.
We could really agree. We had never talked about it before, but we uncovered that. That was something that we uncovered. And I'm actually really looking forward to us like really going deeper with that and like fleshing that out from our perspective to share with the community even more. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was a really amazing month going into the darkness and uncovering lots of light.
Yes.
And then finally, we came to December. Um, we're still here for about
Surprisingly.
12 more hours.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And this month is all about unconditional love. And for me, it has been about really loving myself unconditionally
Mhm.
first and foremost, and really holding on to my peace. Like, there's been some things that have rocked my peace this month. Like, I've been really working to stay in unconditional love and, share that with others, but you just never know what is going to be said or done or how things are going to be taken, or you just never know. You know
Right.
what I mean? Things come up that you're just like, where'd this come from? You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so loving myself through that and knowing that I have the best of, intentions for myself and others, and, praying for clarity, praying for direction, praying for myself, praying for others. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really been, I feel like this month of unconditional love, I've been leaning into, like, I pray, but I've been leaning into prayer like more than ever. That's where it has really led me. It's like, I feel like a deeper relationship with God, because I want to love myself. I want to love other people. I do love myself, but I want to love myself deeper. And I want that love to, just to exude and spill out. And I want my life to be an example of love. You know what I mean? And so I've been in, deep communion with the Most High more than ever. And it's been it's been really a special time for me. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I could go on and on. How has the month of unconditional love been for you?
Surprisingly, I've had the opposite experience. It has been a lot about self love. I will say that. It has been very much about loving myself and my boundaries and what I'm allowing in my life. And it has been hard though. Because in examining those things, and anytime you focus on something, it grows. So focusing on trying to be more unconditionally loving, I feel like I was thrown a lot of conditional love,
Mm,
and so my lived experience of doing this month has been very hard. This has probably been the hardest of all of the months. The spiritual hygiene month was pretty rough on me because I'd realized, just my practice had fallen off. But then this month, it's I'm still uncovering things. I'm still figuring things out. I'm still trying to understand how to implement boundaries without putting up walls so high that the only person who can be there is me, like where I have to be isolated. And, you know, it's still a balance for me. I'm still figuring it out. It's really, and we've been talking about it all month, so I don't want to rehash everything, but this has been a hard one. I'm still glad that we did it. I mean, I'm never, I don't think I'll ever say I wish we hadn't done that topic that month. I feel like they all come for a reason. It's definitely been the past 6 months. The pattern has been is if we talked about it, there was something that was going to happen that month that is going to, you know, be right on point that we're going to need that lesson for. So I feel like each month that we have presented has been like a class, a mini class,
Yeah,
a
for
4 week
sure.
class.
Absolutely. We are giving ourselves the curriculum in Earth School. You know what I mean? Our intuition of, what we need and maybe what others, like us need, and how we can not only pull ourselves forward, but pull each other forward. This is what community is about.
Right.
Community is about coming together collectively, sharing your resources, and really moving forward, planting seeds, nurturing, growing, pruning, and
Right.
harvesting, and
Hmm.
so, it's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be sunshine and roses. There's rainy days. There are, even roses have thorns, all of that
Right.
stuff, but it's life, it's
Hmm.
Earth School. We're here to learn. And I feel like this month of unconditional love is, it's like it's been ruffling up things so that they can be made aware of, so that we can address them, so that we can move forward in love and peace and unity. And in seeking that love and peace and unity, we are going to find it. I can't think of anything that I've looked for seriously that I haven't found.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So either
Yeah.
unconsciously, as we've talked about one month,
Right.
or
Right.
or very intentionally. So
Hmm.
I'm really grateful for this for this journey. And as we are, winding down, I would say, did you want to talk about, I kind of talked about my favorite moment, I think, kind of being the conscious community month. Did you want to
Yeah.
talk about your favorite moment? I know we had kind of touched on it briefly a little bit in our pre-meeting.
Um. Yeah. I guess we can talk about that, and then maybe we go to intentions because we're really running
Yes,
short on time now.
exactly.
Um. My favorite moment recording. Um. Was definitely when my family and I were traveling. We had our little girls trip to go across country, and we drove, and I was like, we're not going to not record. We're going to record.
Yes.
And we did end up skipping one week, and I'm glad that we still recorded that one week because we were talking about the present moment. I remember it was a study
Yes.
hall and we were talking about the present moment. And in that moment, we were still driving. My wife was driving, the kids were in the back seat, and we were in, I believe, Texas.
I
And
think
it
so.
was the skies were so beautiful. The land was so beautiful. Everything in that moment of the sun, the everything was so gorgeous and so beautiful. And we were talking about being in the present moment. And I remember having a hard time being on the live because I was just taken by the beauty of everything around me, right? And for me, that's like one of my favorite moments because you guys really got to see me live go, oh my God, everything is so gorgeous. Like it's so pretty. And that was really that's like my favorite moment of recording this past year was being able to record while we were on the road and just enjoying the beauty of it and being able to live share that with everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful moment. it was probably one of my favorite moments too, because you turned the camera around and you shared it with us, and I was in awe myself. I was just like, wow, you know what I mean? I am a big fan of, you know, the art that the Most High,
Yes.
creates for us just in the sky. Just look up, okay? Just
Right.
look up. It's beautiful,
Mhm.
and you sharing that with us across the plains. And I do think it was Texas that you guys were in, and it was just a beautiful moment. I'm so grateful you took us on your journey, your family vacation with with you, so that we got to see that. It was just a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a beautiful moment. All right, so we are going to, just talk about a little bit about our intentions for next year. Like we said, this time will be, over the next 3 months, will be a time of, continued rest and preparation and holding the frequency, and, our shares, our curriculum for the upcoming 3 months are really going to, help us to prepare for the real new year, and so we want you all to know that. We want you to, continue to stick with us and, go on this journey with us. In addition to that, we have some other things that we're going to be, working on. Umi, do you want to talk about, a couple of things?
Yeah, sure. So I know that like our focus really this year is going to be on building community. And so everything that we have that we're bringing forward in addition to just this weekly podcast is going to be about community building. We're looking to find a place where you all can interact with each other, that you can interact with us. Um, and so and we're trying to stay off some of the more toxic platforms like Facebook.
Trying. We're
Trying really
trying.
hard. Um, one of the things that we've been talking about is Substack, and really getting on there and doing some more text-based things where we're putting up blog posts and information and things like that, to kind of complement some of the things that we're talking about in the podcast, and to give you a place to have conversations about the material and interact with us. And yeah, so that's one. Another thing we've talked about, and um is putting up affirmation videos where we're kind of doing a like say it with me kind of thing, where we're putting up affirmations where so that you can have somebody to do it with, right? Because for me in the beginning, when I was trying to build a practice, having somebody to do it alongside me was always easier than trying to do it alone. And so we're hoping that this will be, a way to have a little bit of community, and then you guys can like duet with us, or I think it's called a remix in YouTube. You can do a remix where you say it alongside of us, and things like that. Um and yeah, I'll just leave it at those cuz I really want you to talk about the 21-day upgrade journeys and the book club.
Yeah, so we have talked a lot about, just cycles. And, cycles is something that just keeps coming up. And I realize that, while we are in the present day, it's a new age, a new day, it is important for us not to forget some of our ancestral, rituals, which was working in cycles. And so, we're going to be bringing, some 21-day upgrades, journeys. We're still kind of fine tuning the name there, but the premise is that every 21 days we're working on something that's going to add value to our lives. It's going to upgrade us. We'll take rests in between and have moments so that we can recalibrate and integrate, and just give ourselves time to really feel that frequency. But we really want to be intentional this year about the work that we're doing, or continue to be intentional, and even at a greater level. and with more community. And then in addition to that, we are going to be starting a book club as well, where we can, get together and read and share, and it'll be in conjunction with some of the other things that we have going on. But we'll be bringing more information to you all about that in the coming months once we flush it out and really get clear on, how we want to bring it to you. But it will definitely be coming in 2026. And we're really looking forward to sharing with you all, growing with you all, and, really learning about ourselves, about each other, and how we could continue to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm excited for the book club, I have to say.
Me too. We've done it a few times
Yeah.
with, we read Sacred Woman together. I think we only did we read Women Who Run with the Wolves? I don't know. Did we read that together? I know I read that with someone.
Yeah, there was another group I think that was reading, and I think maybe both of us were a part of it. We've definitely
Hmm.
done some things where we were in the same space where there was a book being read. I can't remember who was doing Women Who Run with the Wolves, but I do remember doing it.
Right?
We were, I mean, we everybody knows we met on Clubhouse, and
Yeah.
Clubhouse was, kind of the spiritual community that we had during pandemic. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
so it
think
was, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine. Um, but yeah, that's just I remember being in some of the same spaces, and it was just always funny because they would either call me Uni or call you Umi.
Yes, that's so funny. You're like, wait a minute. I thought it was so dope.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was Clubhouse was definitely a time. We had some good times and some very interesting times on
Very
Clubhouse too.
interesting.
But I'm grateful for the space to really, gather with community. It's really what I was seeking, like really, looking for spiritual community. And I'm really happy for, the connections that we made and, the ones that grew and, the ones that were seasonal and, the ones that'll be for lifetime.
Right,
I'm really,
right.
really grateful for that time on Clubhouse.
Me too. Me too.
All right.
I think that's
And
it.
yeah, we want to thank you all so much for um, just being with us over the last 6 months. It's been an amazing time. We've grown so much. And, Earth School Journey is something that we both are, heavily invested in, continuing to grow and nurture. And we hope that you'll join us, on the journey, in one way or another. If that's by commenting, liking, sharing, um, subscribing, or
Right.
just any way, we want to continue to join forces with people who are serious about unity and love. There is plenty of
Yes.
separation out there. I personally want to continue to find my people and live in
Right.
high vibrations, good
Right.
vibrations. It's not going to always be perfect. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to always go as planned, but having community who have a similar mindset, who care about, being accountable and responsible and loving and just putting out good energy, being leaders in our own right, and coming together in leadership with each other, not as a hierarchy. You know what I mean? It's really been important to us, and we've really been putting in the work even behind the scenes with
Yeah.
other, sisters and really building community. We will be bringing a few of our sisters on to share in the coming year, and just really show you that you can have good, healthy community,
Mm-hmm.
and you just can,
Yeah.
we got to
Yeah.
get back to that.
Yeah. I agree. And I'm so grateful for all of you coming along with us on this imperfect journey. It hasn't been the easiest journey. We've had a few flat tires and gone around the block a few times. Gotten off the wrong exit. We've done a lot of things on this journey. And I'm so appreciative of everyone who's come along and who sticks around for the ride. And there'll be new people who join, and the day ones, we really appreciate you. We appreciate you, and we look forward to offering you more ways to connect and more ways to grow alongside of us. So, yeah.
Yeah, we want to wish you all a happy new year.
Happy New Year.
Yes, happy new year. We will see you all. Well, we've been in the comments all this time by now,
Yep.
asking questions and, just making noise in the comments. So we hope that you've joined us over the last hour and 5 minutes. We hope you've shared and, if you've had any favorite moments or anything like that, hopefully you have something to share. But we want to thank you all again for joining us. We will see you all next year.
Yes. 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 Bless you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We are so grateful. We are so humbled by your support, and we love you, and have a wonderful new year.
Peace.
Bye. Peace.